The Isle of Wight is a great place to visit, and this video intends to show some of the main sites that you can go to see in the hope that we might whet your appetite to make a visit. Beautiful purple flowers on the entryway into Mottistone. This is the main building. At the moment it's not open to the public, and I'm told they're going to open up one or two more rooms. Be intriguing to know what's on the inside. On the panel just behind me it says it was built in 1596, so it's quite an elderly establishment. There is a bookshop that you can go into, but not too much else. Beautiful garden, purples and whites, snuggled between some lovely hedges. Great to see. That looks a nice spot for a picnic lunch, doesn't it? And although they're not very clear from just here, there's some beautiful red poppies just in the foreground. From Mottistone you often see beautiful sea views. And there's one from just here where you can see the sea in the distance. Very nice little cafe area, very welcoming, but it does depend a little bit on the weather, although there is a sheltered area. Yarmouth Castle has an exhibition area explaining a lot about the history of Yarmouth, its castle, the various shipwrecks and the way it defended itself and its vulnerabilities. And altogether, if you come, you will learn a lot. Yarmouth Castle is the latest of Henry VIII's coastal forts, begun after a French raid in 1545, in service by 1547. It differs totally from such earlier forts as Deal and Walmer. Its arrow-headed bastion represents a new departure in fortification. The hall and parlour of Master Gunners, originally Captain's House, 1560. And what we see is a small little dining room. This is the castle kitchen, but even the castle kitchen has got a cannon. Think about that. That would add a bit of flavour. The room in which you are now standing occupies the first floor of the Arrowhead Bastion, in its day one of the most innovative military buildings in England. As Yarmouth Castle was built to defend the Yar estuary against an enemy landing and to control the southwestern Solent, much of its firepower was directed out to sea. Yet the castle and its guns were vulnerable to attack by land if an enemy landed elsewhere. The castle was therefore surrounded by a moat to the south and east. Yarmouth Castle could hardly be nearer the ferry port, and this is the ferry that takes you over to the other side of the Solent, to Lymington, and just around here are all the gun emplacements, and you can see the mechanisms whereby these guns were turned around so that they could aim at different angles. Shipwrecks off Yarmouth Castle. The Solent has been a busy shipping channel since Roman times and has witnessed its share of shipwrecks. There are over 90 named wrecks within 3 miles of the castle, including the Assistance 1703 and the Triton 1802. We've come to Carisbrooke Castle, and you can see part of the keep behind me, and it's an English heritage property, and it's found more or less in the middle of the Isle of Wight. I wonder what we'll see when we go in. This is the interior of the gatehouse, and it would be the part that was most needed to be defended. It's that part of the building that we've just seen there that we're on the inside of. The gatehouse was built in the 13th century. Pretty old. From the gatehouse, standing just to the upstairs entrance, this is the view that you have of the courtyard on the inside of the castle. Scaffolding at the moment, they must be doing some repairs. And over there seem to be some people in costume. I wonder whether it's some sort of jousting or something like that. Here in Carisbrooke Castle, Charles Stuart, Charles I, was imprisoned and incarcerated, and he died on the scaffold in 1649, and this is his death warrant, or a copy of it. The little chapel at Carisbrooke Castle, and it's got quite an amazing ceiling if you look, and on the walls it says, "Come unto me, all ye that labour and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest."
Matthew, this is Matthew.
A little wooden statue of Matthew. And another little statue of Mark, but why he's in the form of an animal, I don't know. This chapel was built in 1904, quite recent really, and serves as the war memorial for those who gave their lives in the various wars.
Trees where you sit shall crowd into a shade.
11th century medieval well, and it looks as if they certainly don't want you to fall in. In the centre of Carisbrooke was the Motte, a high mound of earth crowned a shell keep. It overlooked the walled bailey containing the last buildings of the castle, and it was essentially the last defence. Well, those were the ramparts we were walking along, and they looked fairly terrifying, and they were fairly terrifying, the limit of what my poor head for heights could cope with. One of the daughters of Queen Victoria, Princess Beatrice, came and lived at Carisbrooke Castle, and she established this garden, which is maintained for us to enjoy, and it's very pleasant indeed.
The flowers shall rise, and all things flourish, and all things flourish.
Mary and I have come to the home of Alfred Lord Tennyson in Farrington on the western edge of the Isle of Wight, and we're going to go in a tour around the house. I'm told it takes an hour and a half, so I don't know quite what we're going to see. However, whether we can take photographs on the inside remains to be seen. Hopefully we will. Well, unfortunately, you can't take photos inside Tennyson's house, but it is the most amazing trip to actually go round. And inside you see an abundance of furnishings. You're given a little audio guide. It takes about an hour to go round. And not only do you learn about Tennyson, you learn about his wife Emily, his two sons Lionel and Hallam, and it's a very rich and detailed presentation that you're given, most worthwhile. On the site was once a whole series of holiday cottages, and it's immediately next door to the main house, but it's now been made into a walled garden, and it looks very, very pretty indeed. Obviously the rain that we've had has helped some of the lushness. Appledurcombe House, English heritage. Begun in the early 18th century as the seat of the Worsley family, Appledurcombe House is a masterpiece of English Baroque architecture. Though now a graceful shell following bomb damage during the Second World War, its interior retains many fine architectural details. The rolling grounds were enhanced by the celebrated landscape designer Lancelot Capability Brown in the 1780s. The house is a shell. Rather surprising, since it's been like this since the Second World War, that no one has thought to perhaps rebuild it and restore it to its former glory. You would have thought there was enough of the shell to make that worthwhile. It has a rather depressing, austere sense in this shell of what might have once been. The exterior of Appledurcombe House. It looks very grand, but it's only a shell on the inside. Very sad, really. Destroyed in the Second World War, but I gather that it was already fairly derelict before then. Not considered to be economically worthwhile to repair. You would have thought in this day and age somebody could have found a use for this building. This is the exterior of Osborne House, and we hope to go around it in a little while. You can't take any videos there, but I'm hoping to be able to take quite a few normal photographs, so there should be a whole series of photographs to get some idea of what the interior is like. It's where Queen Victoria lived with Albert and her family and her many children, and it's full of history, and I hope to be able to show something of the richness and variety of what they have on display.
Where you sit shall crowd into a shade. Where'er you walk, cool gale shall fan the glade. Trees where you sit shall crowd into a shade. Trees where you sit shall crowd into a shade. Where'er you tread, the blushing flower shall rise.
This looks like the changing facility that Queen Victoria had before delicately stepping her foot into the sea, which is just here. And this is the beach just at the edge of Osborne House. And as you look over the beach, you can see Portsmouth and the Spinnaker Tower, which certainly wouldn't have been there in her day. This is the Swiss cottage building that was built by Victoria and Albert for the education of their children and is beautifully preserved. It's about half a mile from the house, maybe a 10 to 12 minute walk.
Cool gale shall fan the glade. Trees where you sit.
One of the gardeners told us that they have 3 sessions of growing plants, spring, summer and autumn. And the whole place looks really nice at the moment. Love those sweet little red flowers. The tulips in the midst are finished, but somehow it still looks pretty good.
Where'er you walk, cool gale shall fan the glade. Trees where you sit shall crowd into a shade. shall